and we built great foundations for all of these things. And to see those foundations come to life and become vibrant and start flowering and producing downstream effects is so cool. And seeing all the interconnectivity of it, like Mithril is interconnected with the sidechain strategy, is interconnected with the Hydra strategy, is interconnected with Ouroboros and all the magic of Ouroboros, and the heterogeneity that Ouroboros provides is interconnected to all these things. Wow. Years ago, we were talking about it on blackboards, and we said, if only we could do this and this and this. And this is the year where we actually get to play around with it and see it, and also to see what the community is doing with Cardano. Wing Riders just came out. I tweeted that. This one was special because they added so much, staking while doing TVL, stablecoin support, a lot of really cool off-chain design patterns. It's an example of a very refined DEX, much more so than a lot on market right now. And the other ones will copy and emulate and learn. And so there's a rapid evolution that's occurring. So I suspect that everybody's going to say, hey, we should catch up. But the fact that these things are evolving so quickly is just a testimony to the quality of this community and the quality of the technology. And this is pre-Vassal. When Vassal comes out in June, you're just going to see a whole new wave of things like stable coins and other things, algorithmic stable coins like JED and so forth that are kind of waiting for it. So real excited about that. A lot more work on the pedagogy. We're working real hard to improve the Plutus Pioneers program, the Marlowe Pioneers program. This is the first month where Marlowe is running on Cardano in a test sense. 4 years of work there for financial DSL. Now it's coming to fruition. It's live. It's beautiful. And by the end of the year, it should be in a great state. Hydra, every 3 weeks, they just keep adding to it. They just keep building up. It's a beautiful thing as well. Really happy about it. And to me, it's just a validation of a dream we had. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's talk about your questions. That's the fun thing about these AMAs. It's just not me on a monologue. It's you guys. What's up, Charles? Good to see you again, man. Thank you, D. Good to see you as well. The neck bone's connected to the ball bone. Let's see here. You should hang out with Paul Stamets. Yeah, actually, I think I have a meeting coming up with David Broner, from that soap company, and it's along the same lines as some of the work that Stamets does. But I like Paul. He's pretty cool. My gourmet mushroom farm should be operational here in just a little bit. I'll take lots of pictures for you guys. We're working real closely with Farmbox Foods. Where is your Snowpunk statue? It's at home. This is the office. DEX functionality for Daedalus. Yes, please. Daedalus is a reference wallet, so no. But it would be really cool. Put it in the IO Lite wallet, which is a commercial wallet, different wallet. Hey, Charles, what's your take on modern monetary theory? Inflation is okay and under control narrative, which is being pushed. I got into a big debate at the opening of the Barbados embassy, the after party with one of the central bank guys floating around from Barbados. Real smarmy dude, works for their government. Just an asshole. And he's just sitting there rattling on about how printing money doesn't cause inflation. This neighborhood that I'm in, where my office is at, the homes in this area, they've doubled in price in the last 3 years. Doubled. Every single thing at the supermarket has gone up in price, at least 20%, 30%. Look at the price of fuel. And you got all these MMT guys. Oh, it's Russia. So let me get this straight. Russia has that much say on the energy market here in the United States, where we're the world's largest energy producer. Really? Russia has that much influence over our economy? One little crisis in Ukraine, some embargoes we put in, some sanctions we put in, causes 20% inflation. You're really going to say that? Meanwhile, you double the money. You print money out of nowhere and you inject it into the economy, massive sums of money. Where does that money go? It goes into the wealthy, and they set up REITs and all these other things like BlackRock does. And they go around, they buy a bunch of homes. So the poor people, the middle class people, they're now competing with investment banks and hedge funds and investment funds. Funds raise the prices. Price of rent goes up. Lot rent for trailers is $1,000 a month. Lot rent. Trailers, $1,000 a month. They own the trailer. They own the modular home. Lot rent's that high. A lot of you have that story, and that's just here, Colorado. I imagine California, New York, and other places are even worse. When you print massive sums of money and inject that money into the economy, the rich people do very well. Why? Because we get to use the money first. We get access to all those Reg D top shelf shit. I can put money into the Millennium Fund. You guys can't. I can put money into some of the top hedge funds. You guys can't, because I'm an ultra high net worth guy. So when they print money, boy, do I do good. But you guys get fucked. Absolutely fucked. MMT is part of a larger academic agenda to rob you of your. Okay. And anybody who tells you otherwise, they're either an undergrad who's fallen in love with an insane economic philosophy and they think they're geniuses, or they're a bought and sold economist that's not being intellectually honest. You cannot take a scarce resource and remove scarcity and then expect that it holds the same value through some sort of kabuki and velocity of money and all this other bullshit. You just can't do it. It's not possible. Guys, if you're starving and I have a loaf of bread, how much would you pay for it? If I give you another loaf of bread, would you still want it? If I give you another loaf of bread, would you still want it? At the 47th loaf of bread, do you feel, how much would you pay for that? It's common sense. Money only has value because it has some notion of scarcity and controls behind it. There's a belief that you believe other people, a Schelling point, will treat money in a certain way. If you believe money is losing its value, prices go up. It's that simple. It's a common Austrian notion. And then these MMT people come around, they say, oh, everything's under control. It's all fine. Well, then ask them back. If MMT actually works, if this is a thing, why do we pay taxes? Why can't every year we just print $3 trillion every year? Why can't we do that? If it doesn't cause inflation, why do you pay taxes? Why don't we go print $10 trillion, go build all the infrastructure of America? Free college for everybody. Why do you work if MMT really works? Why do you have to? We can just print money and give you money. You can just go and spend it, right? Great for the economy. These people. I get so angry about it because I see how it destroys people's lives. You know how many homeless people are running around now, and the price of rent, the price of food, it's devastating. Wages don't go up like that. They really don't. So every year, the poor and the middle class get poorer and poorer and poorer, and they live less of a lifestyle. Look at The Simpsons. The show started, I think, in 1987. Homer Simpson and Marge, with their 3 kids, live in a 3-bedroom home. He's not a college graduate, barely a high school graduate, and he's the breadwinner. Wife doesn't work. And that was America in 1987. That wasn't fantasy back then. That was the average American lifestyle. Now you have 2 parents, both college graduates, badly in debt, barely can afford a single child, and they're renting because they can't buy a house. Don't fucking tell me that things are working well. Homomorphic encryption projects and healthcare and biotech, perhaps. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things we're looking at there. And there's privacy preserving encryption, oblivious RAM, homomorphic encryption. There's some NPC shit you can do. So for those of you who don't know, homomorphic encryption is part of a collection of techniques that people are studying and looking into that enable you to operate on encrypted data without decrypting it. And those operations are preserved. You say, but why should we care about that? What's the point of that? Well, let's say you want to do a Google search and you don't want Google to know what you're searching for. Or let's say you have a bunch of medical records and you want to mine those medical records for a particular query, like how many people above 50 with asthma who are Jewish and women who smoked in their 20s got COVID, and what was the outcome compared to the general population? Standard epidemiological question that somebody somewhere is going to ask for some paper. How do you solve that problem right now? You have a data room. Somebody sees the non-anonymized data. They do a bunch of magic, and then they give you the answer. However, the person in the room can see the private medical data and see that Aunt Beth has herpes and Aunt Sue has a drinking problem and Aunt Jane, she tried to commit suicide at 22 because it's in the medical record. That's a problem. Homomorphic encryption allows you to, without a data room, without a special actor who's trusted, be able to mine that information, get the answer back, but no private information is leaked. No PII is leaked from the set. So it's an enormously useful thing. So you say, but why don't we always do this, Charles? Well, the problem is that homomorphic encryption is too slow. A Google search could take 1,000 years. The algorithms are not linear time. So there's a lot of people who study this topic. DARPA had a program called Proceed. There's SEAL is a homomorphic encryption library that Microsoft is working on. And we do some work as well, tangentially. Actually, the Algorand guys have one of the top people in the world, Craig Gentry, who studied under Dan Bonnet at Stanford and came up with one of the first major papers in homomorphic encryption to prove that it could work. So it's a vibrant and active field. Now, what does this have to do with blockchain? A long time ago, Stan Larimer, the dad of Dan Larimer, the founder of EOS, BitShares, and Steam and other things, wrote the first article on DAOs. It's called DAX because he used to be in the drone business. And so he was always thinking autonomous vehicles, autonomous infrastructure, rah, rah, rah. And one of the things he said, which was true at the time, is DAOs can't keep a secret. Decentralized autonomous companies can't keep a secret. Blockchains can't keep a secret. It's common sense. It's public, it's transparent, it's open. With homomorphic encryption, changes the narrative a little bit. They can, and you can operate on that and do all kinds of really cool stuff with it. So a lot of things can be invented for this in the sale of secrets and so forth. So great field, very exciting, and we'll definitely do something in the data privacy because I do own a biotech company and love to monetize certain things, but protect privacy at the same time because that monetization actually results in good beneficial research to help people. We have to be real careful about how that's done. Have you taken a look at Maladex? They are trying to innovate in every possible point a DEX can touch. It'd be a lot of fun to do an interview with them, so I can certainly take a look. You guys may remember that I had a podcast that I did with Drunken Dragon, where we gave them an opportunity to kind of talk about their project. And what I'd like to do is make that a recurring thing, where I interview people building stuff on Cardano and say, okay, well, what makes your thing special and so forth. I know I've got a little criticism from time to time of tweeting about things the C Fund is invested in. And I tweet about everybody's stuff, but there's always going to be an overlap there. And I'd love to give a platform to as many people as possible. It's just the problem is there's almost 1,000 projects building on Cardano now. And right now we're in the weeds on a lot of stuff. But it would be nice to slip back. About Cardano 360, how do you like the idea of working with voice actors to translate most common language to reach more people around the globe? Only 372 million people have English as their first language. Jeremy, you bring up an interesting point about translation in general across all of the Cardano assets. So as this becomes more open source and community oriented, linguistics is very important. It's not just about stock translation. There's cultural localization. Certain things can be explained differently based upon the culture that you're explaining it in. And that's a big area to stand up. So I do believe that it is something community should step up to the plate on and kind of create a translation network. And they have been doing that. Cardano Latin America has been working. We've seen a lot of localization in Africa for local dialects. And there is a Cardano Chinese community, Cardano Japanese community. Those in particular are having a lot of fun trying to keep up. It's a boatload of work, but it's something you should definitely talk to the foundation about. And I know they care about it and they're concerned about it. Any thoughts on Orbis and their proposal to use ZK rollups on Cardano to help with scaling, something to complement Hydra instead of competing with Hydra? Very complementary. We are thinking about all kinds of ways to help them. In terms of Plutus, there's been some requests for new cryptographic primitives in the scripting side, particularly SecP256K1, the Bitcoin curve. It's a Koblitz curve. And then the other one is support for pairings-based crypto, so BLS. If you do these things, it makes it a lot easier for them to take things in the Ethereum space and put it in our side. Output rollups are really interesting. Ergo does this, and this is why they can do like 15,000 outputs in a transaction. And I think there's a lot of unique things, given that there's local state and rollups of state in Cardano that would be a faster, easier, better, cheaper to do than in the Ethereum space, and less to think about. We are probably going to do some sort of a roll-up thing in the Hydra design in a later version, especially when we talk about bundling, batching of payments. But it's innovation all around, and I'm glad that there are multiple people who are getting Catalyst proposals or doing research independently to explore this. It's necessary work. It's a little harder than most people let on, because what ends up happening is you can get it to a certain point, and then there's this long tail of edge cases that, generally speaking, are pretty difficult to work through. So where and when we can make contributions, we try, and we've certainly done a lot of work in the privacy space with snarks. Like we created the paper sonics and implemented the library and so forth. And we'll definitely be able to bring some stuff. But it's good to see the community is leading the way in that respect. And we're going to keep trying to build infrastructure for them to make it easier. Hey, Charles, what is the importance of Hydra for Cardano to scale on a global level? So what's ended up happening is a lot of people in the Cardano community and outside of the Cardano community are looking at Hydra as this panacea. There was like, it's like when Jesus was born, it's like BC and AD, before Christ, after Christ. No, it's not like that. We have pipelining and important endorsers and a lot of optimization. That plus improvements in the way that applications are developed will massively scale Cardano. Okay, at a scale of 100x or something like that from where we're at today. So that's good enough for the load that we're looking at on the network. Then you have sidechains come, and that means a lot of traffic gets pushed into other domains, computation layers. By the way, Cardano could be a computation layer of itself. So that's one way that we can shard and scale. So that is great. And there's all kinds of things that can be done to improve throughput and constrain it not as a consensus problem, but a network problem. When you look at Hydra or rollups, that's saying for particular patterns of use, micropayments or things that can be batched and bundled together, NFT airdrops, whatever it is, some DEX logic, you can do those things with a different network, a layer 2 or technique. And the advantage there is only a small representation of all of that traffic ends up on mainnet. So instead of trying to improve your overall throughput, you now have a situation where you get additional throughput through a different network. And that potentially has a chance to scale near infinitely for those classes of transactions, tipping, microtransactions, airdrops, these types of things. So Hydra is churning away, and we're in the theory stage and applied cryptography and applied research stage. And we're coming up with all kinds of interesting questions, and we're chipping at those questions quickly, updating, modernizing, doing things to Cardano to make it a better fit and integrate Hydra. So Hydra is a great 2023 technology, which is going to substantially chip away at certain use cases and make them a lot easier for our network to handle. Rollups will do the same. Sidechains will do the same. In the meantime, 2022, this year, as part of the Bashu agenda, we have pipelining and we have input endorsers. And that is where you're going to see the most significant gains in throughput. And really, it's going to take us to a point where the network will be able to handle what's at it, regardless of how many dApps people throw on. Hey, Charles, how was the conversation with Snoop Dogg? It was a lot of fun. Snoop's a great guy. Champ is a great guy as well. And it was really lovely of them to come to us and have a conversation. You know, people are so incredibly cynical in this space. First, whenever a celebrity endorses or a celebrity talks to you, there's this immediate thought that it's astroturf, meaning that we paid to have this association. I can assure you, no one from IO or anywhere else that I'm aware of paid for Snoop to come and have a Twitter space with us. It was of their own free will. Why? Because they're doing something interesting. They're curious about learning more, so they want to come in and have a convo. And they have the luxury and freedom to do that. And they have a huge network. Snoop has over 19 million Twitter followers. And those followers there's some that are in crypto, many are not. And so you bring in new people, and the cost of admission is a conversation. So I'm always willing to have those conversations, and I'm always willing to engage where and when it seems to be productive, and you can actually talk about interesting things. The music industry is quite predatory, very unfair, very asymmetrical, especially against new people that come in. And if you look at any of the music stars, it doesn't matter if they're older, like the Rolling Stones, or newer, like Katy Perry, or like Taylor Swift. They all have horror stories about things that happened in the beginning where they were taken advantage of physically or economically or both by the system. And usually a lot don't survive after their first album or their first entry point. So people who have survived, like Snoop, they don't want that to happen again. And they're trying in everything they do in their power to make the industry a bit more fair for artists. And so you look at new mechanisms like NFTs, micropayments, ways to do metaverse style content where you cut out middlemen and you have a direct relationship, as well as better way of establishing provenance of IP and making sure that the artist never loses access to what they've created. It's very interesting to them. And whether it be Snoop or it be Gene Simmons or any of prominent artists, old or new, it's a big concern. So it was a lot of fun to have a conversation with them and just be in that world for a little bit. But moving beyond a conversation, there are definitely really interesting problems of intellectual property, really interesting problems of the business model of the music industry that need to be examined. And every time we have a conversation like this, it always ends up converging to something in that space. And hopefully we can come up as an industry with some generic solutions to that. How can I leverage the Cardano blockchain to hold physical assets which have been digitized the same way anybody else would leverage any blockchain? You create a token representing the physical asset, and then you issue the token on Cardano. Now, the danger is that your fidelity of the peg between the token and the physical asset is completely at the custodian of the token, of the physical asset. Okay. So if you say, I have a gold coin and every ounce of gold, troy-ounce of gold is connected to a token, well, how do we know that that's a one-to-one peg? Somebody has to hold the gold. So this is not a Cardano problem. Cardano, that's solved. It's super easy with native assets, the easiest blockchain in the world to issue an asset with. Great. This is a custodial risk problem, and you're at the mercy of those best practices and regulations for these things. Can Babel fees remove the need for ADA? Yes and no. Yes, from the transactional viewpoint. No, from the governance and ledger maintenance viewpoint. ADA is always necessary for those two components. Charles, have you met Mr. Wonderful? Yes, I did. I was in Dubai with him. We had a lively debate. Does he intentionally omit Cardano when speaking about crypto? I think he's undereducated with respect to proof of stake coins and Cardano in general. We had a fairly lively back and forth in a private panel with a bunch of people. It's sad it wasn't recorded because that was a lot of fun. I called my soliloquy a Picasso painting, but not realistic. And that's great. Mr. Wonderful is a fun guy. But consensus and other events, I think, are going to really bridge the gap in the VC class and that class with Cardano. There seems to be this bizarre, strange, weirdo belief. I mean, even Balaji, I've known him for years, said, well, I don't have a hold Cardano. I have no beef with the community, but I don't hold it. I have everything else, but I don't have Cardano. It's because they live in a bubble, and that bubble is telling them Cardano best case scenario is a scientific fantasy. Worst case could be the biggest scam in the history of crypto. Stay away. And what you have to do is just grow so big that the people who have said that lose credibility. And then the investors, they reassess and they say, holy shit, we're missing this. We need to jump on board. The same thing happened with Bitcoin, by the way. If you were in Silicon Valley in 2011, 2012, even 2013, saying Bitcoin, 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 the VC people would be like, you're fucking crazy. And there were only a few that were actually paying attention, like Andreessen Horowitz and others. But for the most part, they ignored it. Same for Ethereum. We talked to Google Ventures when I was still at Ethereum, and Kevin Rose was there and others, and they're like, yeah, this Ethereum thing is interesting. We'll see. But they didn't really take it too seriously. It wasn't high on their list of stuff. Now others like Naval, Ravikant, AngelList, and these other guys, they really did. And they were very helpful. Naval actually connected the Ethereum project to Grunfest, who was a lawyer in his network and expert in securities law. And there was a lot of stuff there. So, it's a mixed bag. There's some people that love Cardano and really get it, and they understand what we're trying to do. But the majority are misinformed, underinformed, or just don't care because they have a thesis. For example, a lot of VCs will say, we will not pay attention to layer ones at all until we see 5 tokens on the layer one that are over $1 billion in value. Then it's a real ecosystem. Or your TVL needs to be above $1 billion or something like that. Some people have a thesis like that. And so you just kind of have to grow into it. And, this is our year for growth with a lot of stuff. And we're getting there. Why is the 24 billion ADA stake not included TVL? Very simple answer, because you don't lock it. With Ethereum and all this other stuff, you have to lock it. You have to bond. You have to escrow. You don't have to do that for Cardano. We achieve better security than them without robbing you of your liquidity. That's what we call science. And one day people will get that. Everybody just thinks everybody copies everybody, but we were quite original with the stuff that we did. Charles, can you shine light on input endorsers? If blocks are generated at the same time rate, how will prepackaged endorser transactions speed up the chain? They're not. So between key blocks, you have a DAG of blocks that are generated, and they just kind of aggregate, and they eventually get serialized, but means that you can go at the speed of the network like these standard DAG protocols do. Very different design, and you have to have conflict resolution and all kinds of things to prevent malformed transactions or blocks from destroying the network. So you move beyond the very precise model of Ouroboros into more of a sketchy probabilistic model. So you have to be much more careful with that. The good news is we have a design for it. The bad news is it adds a lot of complexity into the ledger and to the consensus rules. So we're currently at a workshop in Edinburgh working through all those edge cases and getting it out. There will be a video and blog post explaining this in detail, but the long and short is it actually transfers the throughput of the system from a concern of consensus to a concern of network, meaning whatever your assumption is about the network, that is the peak that the system can run. So as your network gets faster, your system gets faster over time without an increase in the a change in the protocol design. So it's a very different design in endorsers, which is why it's the last part of the layer one component of the Basho agenda. Charles, I'm currently taking Calculus 1 in university and struggling. Any tips? Yeah, well, That's the course that weeds everybody out. They say, I want to be an engineer or a physicist or a mathematician. Then they take calculus and they're like, oh. It's that's the first milestone. Then if you get a little further, it's differential equations and linear algebra. And then if you get a little further, maybe it's proofs. Then analysis. Real analysis is the hard one. Also, they usually call it advanced calculus. And then if you get past that, then there's like the next level and the next level. So there's checkpoints, plateaus in mathematics. So there's a lot of good pedagogy these days for calc. It's just limits, derivatives, and integrals. And then each has its own skeleton key of trying to wrap your mind around it. And there's sets of problems, like when limits, you have delta epsilon proofs, and that kills people. And they're, oh man, it's so hard. And then derivatives, there's like some really different weird patterns, like, maybe it's trig functions or whatever. And people just have hard time going through that. And then integration, it's usually substitution stuff, use substitution, these things. And it's just so hard to wrap your mind around that because you have to know the pattern. The problem with the way undergraduate calculus works is it's less proof oriented, it's more calculation. So you'll have your central limit, fundamental theorem of calculus, this stuff. We don't care. It's just like, do I remember this pattern? Have I seen this before? Do I know how to integrate this? Do I know how to differentiate this? So it's just problems, one after another, one after another. Now, there's some good books. Stephen Strogatz wrote a wonderful book on kind of the point of analysis of calculus. Let me pull up the title for that book for you guys. And there's actually a few books I'd recommend. Let's see here. Stephen Strogatz. Strogatz is like the guy. Yeah, here we go. Strogatz is like the guy for I posted the comment for chaos theory and nonlinear dynamics. So it's called Infinite Powers, How Calculus Reveals the Secrets of the Universe. It kind of helps you a bit. And then there's a gal who writes these lovely books, How to Succeed in Mathematics. Pull up her name, but just a second. How to Succeed in Mathematics, College. I'll have to find it and I'll tweet it later. Why can I not find her book? Well, anyway, there's a gal that writes these lovely books, but there's a lot of good stuff. There's some good Coursera classes on calculus as well. There's a master class on calculus, which is pretty good. But it's just solving problems, doing limit problem after limit problem, derivative problem after derivative problem, and then, integration after integration. And that usually gets you through. There's not much more to it than that. There's usually no proof writing in Calc 1 unless you're at a very advanced university. Unfortunately, it's just calculations. So you'll get through it. It's hard. And then when you look back at it, you're, oh, that's easy. Because you learn about Taylor series and these things and Calc 2. And then Calc 3, you have to go to three-dimensional space. You have double and triple integration. And I guess rotations and these things are in Calc 2. Hey, Charles, can you talk more about your experience on Lex's podcast and how a platform like Rogan would help Cardano? Lex is a really fun and interesting guy. I showed up at his place in Austin, rather unassuming. He wasn't wearing shoes. He drank energy drinks, and we went over 5 hours. It was a marathon. It was a lot of fun, and he asked some phenomenal questions. The day before, he sent me the list of questions, and I read through them, and I said, oh, those look interesting. Yeah. And then I went to bed and woke up, and I said, I should probably think about how to answer these. And then I was going to, but then I didn't. So it was more of a freestyle interview. It probably would have been more concise and polished and interesting had I actually taken time to write out answers and think about it. But I generally don't do that for interviews. There's just not enough time in the day. There's that old saying, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, and I would have done that there. Um, Joe is a different animal. Lex has a PhD in artificial intelligence from Drexel. His father was one of the top plasma physicists in the Soviet Union. He's a super fucking bright guy, and you can just go toe to toe, and he's got a lot of depth to him and analytic capabilities. So when you say something, Lex can really challenge it, really go into it. So it's an interesting interview. Joe, on the other hand, he's this wise old guy that's seen a lot of life. Yeah, so he's not a specialist by any sense of the word. He was a comedian, martial arts guy who kind of turned into this huge podcasting guy because he's curious. He likes having conversations and learning from conversations. So Rogan, it really came about from just his desire to interview cool people. So he says, I want to learn about vaccines. I'll bring this guy in. I want to learn about astronomy. I'll bring this guy in. I want to learn about Bitcoin. I'll bring Andreas Antonopoulos in, whatever. And he just say, hey, tell me about your thing. And he would create space to have a conversation and learn. Now, that format is the bar format. You're sitting in a bar, you're drinking, and there's this dude or this gal that's sitting next to you. You say, hey, what do you do? You say, oh, I'm a plant biologist. I say, oh, botanist. What's that about? And you spend 3 hours talking about plants. And it's a really fascinating, interesting conversation. You go back and forth, and eventually you ask about aliens and DMT and these things. And the reason why it's so much fun is Joe is a comedian, and Joe is a good entertainer. So he's always able to think about, while having this conversation, ways to include the audience and make it interesting and exciting for them. So why this is interesting for Cardano is, first, we can tell the story of blockchain in a very different way, not an adversarial way where you're saying it's us versus the banks and the governments, but in an ESG way, a social benefit way, a way about the diaspora who are fleeing their countries and that need economic identity, and a way about transforming the systems of society, and actually showcase lots of really cool examples where that's been done. Given the scale and magnitude of Rogan's audience, you don't approach this lightly. You want to have very precise, very specific examples of where you've changed the world, and those flowers are starting to bud. Because what you can do at that platform is a call to action, and you can say, "Come in, come one, come all, join the Rogan experience, and join Cardano. Do something interesting there." That's why I often say Rogan after Gogan, because Gogan is where all the applications come, and you, the community, are building them, whether they be microfinance applications or DEXs or stablecoins, and they're getting adopted at very high levels. And so you allow a little bit of percolation there. And then what you can do is use that platform as a showcase of all the different cool, interesting things. And ultimately, that allows the ecosystem to get that boost of population. Otherwise, it's a great interview. It's a lot of fun. You're shooting the shit, but you don't get the hook. You don't get the value out of it, the lift out of it you're looking for in terms of users and adoption. You say Hydra is a 2023 technology. Does it mean it will be released on 2023 on the mainnet? Yes. Charles, have you played Half-Life and did you like it? Also, is Daedalus getting any quicker? It gets quicker all the time, every update. As for Half-Life, yes. I even have a Gabe story, which will remain nameless. Hey, Charles, who's the best Roman emperor? First was the best, Augustus, followed by Marcus Aurelius. Good old Octavian. Hey, Charles, doing any hydroponics on the ranch? What excites you the most about what you are doing at the ranch? Yes, we do a lot of hydroponics, some at the ranch, some in other locations, like in town of Wheatland. I'm really excited about potentially doing something there. But there's a lot of moving pieces behind this. So first, what do you do with the hydroponics? So if you're looking at things like livestock, husbandry, there's a feed question of how do you produce the good, nutritious stuff to feed your animals, whether you be a dairy or a horse ranch or a cattleman or a bison farmer. In my case, I'm a bison rancher. I have 500 bison. So it's called fodder, and you can use barley seed, wheatgrass, a litany of things. And really, it's a question of, okay, are you doing dry mass or wet mass? Wet, 90% is water, and it's live, and it's highly nutritious, and it's great for the animals, but it is something you have to constantly produce and feed 24/7. And vast majority of that weight is not applicable to actually fattening the animals. If you're doing dry, you have to avoid mold and all kinds of things. And so there's a whole science there. Hydro Green does that. Fodder Farms with Farm Box Foods does that. There's a litany of these hydroponic solutions. Then you go into the I'm feeding humans. So there you're talking about a vertical hydroponic farm, and there's tons of companies that are looking at farm infrastructure in cities. They take old warehouses, strip malls, Nordstroms that went out of business, whatever it is, build big hydroponic facility, and they grow cash crops, mint for your Minjula or your mojito or whatever. They grow tomatoes, and they grow all kinds of cash crops. You'd like to grow strawberries and berries. It just takes so long. They're not very profitable. Okay, so you have something there. You can constantly grow, constantly sell, and human beings are eating that. Then you have things for landscaping. So you can grow trees. Let's say you want to go Spartan junipers or Norwegian spruces or these types of things. And that can be a very valuable enterprise because you can grow them throughout the winter time in a hydroponic facility and then take them to a nursery during the spring and summer and let them grow up even more. So you want to bootstrap a tree farm or do exotic species in a location that's not amenable for it past a certain rate. And then there's hydroponics for GMO, where you're taking genetically modified organisms and you want to grow them in a contained facility so that they don't escape into the outside. So I explore all of these things actually. And I have investments and ventures that are doing everything from GMO agriculture to fodder to alpine stuff, tree stuff to feeding people. And then there's exotic hydroponics like mushroom growing facilities. And that's less about the hydroponic experience, more about a controlled environment because you need 4 stages. There's a sterilization component, an inoculation component, incubation, and then once the mycelia has grown across the entire substrate, you cut the bags, you put them into a sprouting chamber, a chamber where they leave the bag and you the fruiting chamber. They actually grow out. Mycelia will eat all the substrate, and then only after it's exhausted its food supply will you see an actual mushroom sprout out. And there has to be a certain level of moisture for that to occur for most of the blends of mushrooms. So I do that as well. And there you grow maybe medicinal mushrooms, for example, lion's mane and so forth. One thing I would love to do is at the state level figure out how to grow entheogens for therapeutics, in particular for PTSD treatment and for the treatment of depression, especially with veterans. So, entheogens are psychedelic mushrooms like psilocybin, these types of things, but there are other substances you can look at. The Johns Hopkins research in particular has shown a tremendous therapeutic value above and beyond SSRIs or any treatment that you can imagine. And it's one of those things where you don't have to keep dosing. You just do it a few times and it has persistent benefits to the patient. So it would be nice to work with a state regulator and figure out how to make that possible. The federal government, for whatever reason, seems to think these things are the worst things ever. But it's just a legacy of the 60s and 70s and a response to the counterculture. And we tend not to pick up. But I'm very excited about hydroponics in summary. And it's something I do a lot of research in. And we have a lot of friends that work in that space. And there's a lot of investments I have there. Charles, what do you think about gene editing? It's what Colossal's doing with elephants to make mammoths. It's here, and it's a big business, and there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of very significant ethical questions to be asked about it. So there's a lot of ebb and flow there, and I could spend 2 hours talking about it. You going with mammoth or buffalo? I'm going with both. Already got the buffalo, getting the mammoths. Hey, Charles, how can Africa industrialize even though the geography is against it? It's not. And Africa is industrializing. It's the fastest growing collection of economies in the entire global economy. Hey, Charles, any update on the trustless light wallet? Yeah, that's a light wallet with Mithril, and we're building that. We'll have something for you at Consensus, June 9th to the 12th down in Austin, Texas. Love to see you. We'll have a big community event as well. If you guys come, you can meet me, hang out with me, smoke cigars with me. It's not too hard to get to Austin. Come to Consensus as well. Show some love. We're going to give out some Cardano shirts, so we'd love to have you guys there. Hey, Charles, IOHK hiring hardware engineers for any roles? I'd love to for the chip project that got waylaid after COVID hit. God, we were really excited about the prospect of doing some fabulous work for a open source TPM that could be used for off-chain, offline payments. And we're still going to do that. So if you have a resume, send it our way. We're always looking. Hey, Charles, any updates on one-to-many delegation? That's called partial delegation. We have the spec written, and it's being implemented at the wallet level. Our light wallet's going to be the first thing to support it. Consensus is June. From Dan Klimish, have you considered talking to Ben Gortzel about how Cardano can help the AI control problem? So there's a great book of AI and the Problem of Control from Stuart Thomas. And it really adequately covers the space of issues. And OpenAI talks about this. There's a lot of AI ethics debates that occur. But the problem of control is basically you've created this intelligent agent and you're telling it to pursue goals that you've given it. And there's kind of two forks there. One is that you have unintended consequences of optimizing around the goal. That's called the gray goo problem, where it goes and does something and it thinks it's doing the right thing. You have the other problem where it may decide that your goal is suboptimal and choose its own goals. So you've lost control of it. And those goals may have nothing to do with human survivability or flourishing. And it oftentimes would not, because that agent is fundamentally a different organism. And humans like to argue by analogy. And so whenever you have the introduction into an ecosystem of a more intelligent species, generally that species tends, because it's better able of achieving its goals with its intelligence, to dominate that ecosystem, even if it has a biological disadvantage over time, assuming that it's collectivist. So we, the Homo sapiens, somehow developed the capacity for abstract thinking. And because of that reason, we were able to annihilate all the other human-like creatures, like the Neanderthals and so forth. So analogously, if an AI comes, that agent being more intelligent than us, would be able to annihilate us if so desired, or dominate or control. So how do you get around that? Well, you can take AI up to a certain point and then try to prevent it from evolving past that point. And that's probably not going to work, but that's one philosophy. Another philosophy is you put your head in the ground and say, it's never going to happen. We'll never have AGI, and it's a fool's errand. That's probably wrong too. Third option would be that you could try to teach AI values. This is the Yuval Harari argument. He says that's why he's vegan. He says how we treat things less than us will be a lesson for things that are greater than us. And if they treat us like we treat cows, we're not going to bode very well. But if they, maybe as the creators, there's some reverence there and they take care of us. But it's certainly an interesting problem. It's above my pay grade. And people like Ben, they think about it, and he's real bright. And they have a lot of great ideas. The problem is that the use cases of AI right now are for the spy state, data surveillance, financial optimization, defense industry, and all these cases, the goals of the intelligent agents are not necessarily very noble or human-centric. Rather, they're very greedy or, in some cases, violent. Within this decade will be the first decade we see a armed conflict where autonomous agents are killing people without human oversight. Next decade, we will likely see some AGI-like system that has control over life and death at the civil scale. China will probably be the first implementer of that for criminal prosecutions with an intelligent agent. They've already announced that. Combine that with social credit, combine that with algorithmic money, you actually could have an AGI regulating an entire economy. So an AGI-led central bank and so forth. So it's a fascinating topic, and it's one I follow, but it's also a terrifying topic as well. Hi, Charles. Do layer 2 solutions like Hydra break composability? If so, how will this be addressed? No, it doesn't. It's in the paper. That's why they call it isomorphic. You have universal composition. You also have transaction isomorphism. It's an advantage of extended UTXO because the local state. You can't do it in accounts. For those of you who care. But remember, I'm just the stupid dropout. Why 45 billion tokens? Well, it's better than 46. Is someone pre-filtering our comment stream? No. It just comes to me through StreamYard, and I hope that that I get your comments. But it's aggregated from 3 different places, so they come pretty quick, and I miss a lot. As I said, when we upgrade to the new AMA format, I'll actually have my version of a Jamie. It'll be JJ, and I'll be like, JJ, give me that comment. Hey, Charles, are you into prepping? From Not Even Wrong, Wolfgang Pauley's opinion of quantum mechanics. So prepping is an interesting thing. So you have this canonical viewpoint of a prepper. Some guy's got some Q, got texture and accent, military probably, got the guns and the vests, all this stuff. That's the viewpoint people have of preppers. It is a really good idea in a modern economy to have surpluses of things in the event that infrastructure fails because of weather, war, natural disaster, terrorist attack, whatever it is. Don't believe me? Live in Nolens during Katrina. Look how bad things got there. or look at certain areas of the world, like Ukraine, for example, and what has happened. So it's not expensive or hard for people to stockpile necessities. Now, there are levels of prepping. There's I bought some freeze-dried food off of Amazon and I got some buckets in my basement. Pretty good idea. There's I've done that, plus I have a bunch of water bottles and glass bottles stored. Okay, there's that. And I also went and did a survival training course and learned a bunch of stuff. There's that. And I also stored some heritage seeds and all the gardening supplies I'd need to start a garden. There's that. And I also bought some guns and weapons and other things. There's that. And I bought a ranch in the middle of damn nowhere and did all these things. Everybody has their level and their threshold. Everyone should, in my view, have some bug out bag and basic supplies, because society ebbs and flows and things can happen. And I've been to places that thought it's inconceivable, and now it's conceived. And it's good to have some self-sovereignty. Now, you can go as crazy as having your own island and having your own, compound, and, building your own community and so forth, as religious extremists do, or cultists, or, crazy billionaires do. Larry Ellison, for example, owns the island of Lanai. After COVID, he kind of moved there, and that's in Hawaii. And he's built himself a hell of an eco compound there. And if, shit hits the fan, he's going to live pretty good. I imagine that Richard Branson probably did the same with Necker Island off the books. So, people tend to do this. Technically, my ranch is self-sufficient. Got all the hydroponics. I got my own water supplies that are quite dense. I have bison running around. All of those things make it very easy for me to provide in the event that there's a mass disruption of supply chains, and live quite comfortably. It is what it is. But I think everybody should take some accountability for that. At the very least, take a survival class. It's very important. Now, crypto media and so dishonest. What they're going to say is Charles is a prepper, and it says society's going to come collapsing down. But that's where we're at, you see. And the people who write those headlines are people that would die in the first 3 days of a crisis. Hey, Charles, have you ever spoken with Elon Musk about Cardano? It seems odd that he's pushing Doge and proof of work over proof of stake. Is he uninformed relative to Cardano? Elon is fully aware of Cardano, and he really likes his Dogecoin for the moment. Different floats, different boats. It is what it is. What is your opinion on when DIDs will be universal? We're certainly working on it, as is Microsoft and the Digital Identity Foundation. DIF is making a lot of progress in creating adoption. I love DIDs. I think it's a great standard, and Prism supports it. What are your thoughts on Richard Feynman? Well, surely he's joking. He was one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, and just a completely original mind. Feynman diagrams, all these things, just so original. And I really enjoyed reading his work. Highly, highly recommend you read his autobiography, and highly, highly recommend that you look into the lost lectures of Richard Feynman. Bill Gates was pretty good at evangelizing that. Worked on the Manhattan Project as well. It's what probably killed him. He got cancer and died in the 80s. Charles, I love you from Palestine. Well, thank you so much. Love you too. Damn it, Charles, I have Dipin now. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with dip. I'm a rancher. 95% of the people on my ranch use dip. But I'm just saying that people have a stereotypical view of something that they should personally do. If anything, just to take accountability. Learn how to fish, goddammit. Learn how to make a fire. Learn how to survive in the event that infrastructure is disrupted. You're basically outsourcing your entire survivability to the stability of society. And you're usually okay with that, but goddamn, there's tons of cases where that doesn't happen. And it's a scary, very traumatizing time. Hey, Charles, have you met David Schwartz from Ripple? Yes, David and I are fully aware of each other. I like David. No problem with him at all. He's a very smart guy. Charles, thoughts on nootropics? Good thing. And I'll have a very strong opinion of them next year. And product lines next year for that, from my biotech company. Maybe 2024. We'll see. We're working on it, though. Clinic is actually opening in October. How about that? Been a lot of work. Charles, love you. Will there be mini Hoskinsons? I don't know. There might be. Ask Twitter. They seem to know everything about my life. Maybe Laura will write a book about it. You know, it's a weird thing being a public figure. You know who you are, you know your life, you know these things, and then like somebody just asserts something and you're like, well, that's obviously wrong. And then people believe the thing the other person says, and you're just like, okay, you know, I am whoever you want me to be. My view is that you're not free until you are self-sufficient. Yeah. It's like Jocko Willink. He says, discipline will make you free. It's true. The more disciplined you are, the more you think, the more structured you can make your life, actually, the more freedom you end up getting. The more self-accountability you take, the more free you are, the more powerful you become, the less egotistical you become. Well, thank you. This is a really cool question. Charles, how are you personally? I'm doing quite good. Sit in a float tank, exercise, get a massage from time to time. Body massage. You're good to go. Why is 9.2 trillion USDC minted on Cardano? The Federal Reserve got access to the printing press. We're trying to resolve that whole thing, but they just won't give it back. Charles, what's your favorite song? More Than a Feeling from Boston. There are multiple books now saying the same thing. Yeah, because they interviewed the same people. If you talk to the same person, you probably get the same story, right? You notice something is they stopped at 2014 and they didn't go beyond that. Why? Because Cardano. But don't worry, they'll just keep adding. The helicopter one is the one that gets me the most, the jumping out of an Apache. You know, it's like they almost got the plausible, believable lie. They almost got it. They should have said Black Hawk, not Apache, but no, they said Apache. It's like it's like when the media writes about guns, you know, they're like, there was an assault rifle. It's like, that was a pistol. Oh, no, it was a machine gun. It was this. There was a clip. It had 92 bullets in it. It's a laser gun. It just drives you nuts, the lack of knowledge. But hey, you know, it's neither here nor there. You know, if people want to read Bat Boys getting married and tabloid gossip, they're well more than welcome to run with it. Does it really impact anything? Nah. My life's pretty good. Do you feel like a leader of the revolution? No. I feel like I'm part of the revolution and I'm walking there with you guys. The revolution never ends, my friend. I started in 2007 with the Ron Paul revolution. Never stopped. I was just a kid then, still am a kid now. We're all kids. Is it a dry year or not, Charles? Yeah, the even years are dry years. The odd years are wet years. So it is a dry year. And that fucking sucks. It's terrible. Charles, you play any musical instruments? The piano, badly. Not very good at it. I'd love to get back into it, though. Time. No time at all. Ron Paul got poll and vote count frauded down. Well, you know what? I'm here. And Tyler Lindholm is here. A lot of us here. We ain't going anywhere. You know, it was just like when Goldwater lost, led to Reagan. We will win in the end. Trust me. Any thoughts on decentralized social media? How would obscene content be moderated? Did a whole video on it. I'll find it and tweet it for you guys. It's a great problem, though. It's a good thing to think about. What's the best place to stay up to date on bleeding edge technical science and news? I read Ars Technica, if that's bleeding edge. MIT Technology Review also has some cool stuff. Quartz Magazine, what is it? Maybe Quartz. It'll come to me in a second. There's another one that's pretty good. Are humans truly the only species that aggregate more resources than they need to survive? Nope. There's plenty that hoard and stockpile. Squirrels bury nuts. They forget half of them. Have you ever played Final Fantasy Tactics? Come on, guys. Chrono Trigger is where it's at. Hi, Charles. What are the benefits of the float tank experience? Massive stress reduction, anti-inflammation, mental clarity. These are the things right off the top of the bat. If you suffer from any of those things, good thing to do. A lot of science behind it. Charles, if I met you at Consensus, can you give me the lobster? I might bring the lobster, but no, you don't get the lobster. Logan stays forever. He's my lobster. He'll be in a museum when I die. Do you know Richard Hart? If so, what are your thoughts on him and his projects? No, I do not. He certainly has talked about me a few times, but I know nothing of his projects and I don't really care. If there was something that overlapped, maybe we'd find a collaboration or that, but there is no overlap. And so he does his stuff. I do my stuff. What's it got to do with the price of tea in China? Maybe some thoughts on the Unreal Engine 5. What do you think will improve outside video game graphics with it? Unreal 5 is amazing. They do a lot of really cool stuff there. The ray tracing stuff and all the other things, the polygon counts you can achieve, the native imports you can do. It's an example of a next generation graphics system. We're looking at it actually for some things. We're using Unreal for Crypto Bison, I believe. But in general, I'll probably use something like it for Legends of Valor when we do a AAA remake of the game. But I'm really impressed. Now, there are some open source engines like Godot, for example, or Babylon.js. And I think Unity may have an open source component. I'll have to check it out. But Unreal 5 is pretty impressive. Audio generation is impressive. A lot of AI inside of it. That's a big difference between Unreal 4 and Unreal 5. The AI assisted sound. So you're walking through and like sound will reverberate and it knows how to do all those calculations and handle all of that. The lighting as well is a huge thing. Graphics engines and lighting, that's what separates the men from the boys. Ever think of King Air next to your helicopter? I'm a pilot and can help out. No. Black Hawk forever, man. I even bought another one just to part it because I'm upgrading the Alpha to a Lima. Found one on auction, and so we have new APU, new tranny, and new engine because we use it for fire control, and so it needed enough lift capacity. And there's some real cool stuff you can do with the UH60 platform. Was it okay that we used your voice for our character? Of course it's okay. That's fine. I'm an open source guy. Love you guys. Everybody. Charles, do you partake in wheat gummies? No. but I do have a stockpile of them for people to come visit me for jet lag. They come in from all around the world. I'm like, hey, man. Hey, Charles, is it likely Cardano is easily hijacked by governments, global corporates in order to further control people in every conceivable way? No, because we've inculcated an ecosystem that is resistant to such. Everything from the growth in stake pools to the decentralized research that we do to the existence of catalysts to the fact that the resources of control are virtual and they can move anywhere in the world. We are one of the most resilient and best communities to avoid the evil NWO. They killed net neutrality. Open source is next. Neoliberals want to privatize everything. No. They want to create oligarchies and plutocracies for everything. I tweeted today this headline from an article about how Elon Musk's vision of the open internet is for dictators. Why? Because right now, the current curators of the information layer of the internet are a small group of unelected oligarchical companies that have a particular corporatist globalist worldview. And if you violate that worldview, you now get deplatformed, even if you're the president of the United States. So when somebody shows up and tries to chip away at that, whether it be buying one of the oligarchs and making them open to destroy the censorship engine they've constructed, or a decentralized version, it's now the enemy and it's for dictators. I'm sorry. In my world, the dictators are the ones who silence you. The dictators are the one who deplatform you. The dictators are the ones who tell you what to think, how to think, and if you think outside of their spectrum, punish you for it. People who love freedom, not really dictators. They kind of get rid of the dictators. There's a very dark political alliance in the neocons and neoliberals that are pushing us in this direction, and it's very, very sad. Charles, what are your thoughts on Klaus Schwab, the WEF and the 2030 agenda? Well, I might run into old Klausy boy at WEF. I'm going to be there in Davos, and I'll certainly do an AMA. I promise you guys that. And if I run into him, maybe we'll have a chat. You know, there are a lot of people running around. They tell you how to think, what to do, how to live your life. And there's other people that just want to give you the power to live your life the way you want to. I'm in the latter, not the former. Klaus is in the former. And he seems to think he knows how the whole world should work. And I think any person who believes that's nuts, and they're a control freak, and they scare the hell out of me. You'll own nothing and be happy. My God. Hey, Charles, hope you're doing great. Quick question. What kind of fiat on and off ramps does a crypto billionaire such as yourself use? Proprietary ones, the top shelf shit. Could you please run for president in 2032? No, never. What's your take on the Ethgate scandal? I don't know what you're talking about. Give me a little bit more information and I'll circle back to it. How's the meditation practice going? Pretty empty. Charles, can you make Yoroi fix its many issues? We get this question a lot. Competition is the mother of all innovation and progress. So we definitely did offer to come in and help develop Yoroi, and Emergo decided to go in a different direction. So we've stood up our own light wallet, and we'll be launching that soon. Flint is another competitor. NAMI is another competitor. There's plenty of things there. And also, we've been pushing the foundation to create standards for a certified wallet so that we can all certify against it. You know, we're all on the same team here, and everybody is trying to do their best. And, you know, if you don't like what one vendor is doing, you as the consumer should have the freedom to choose another one, just like you do with browsers. If you don't like Chrome, you can use Brave. If you don't like Brave, you can use Firefox. If you don't like that, you can use Microsoft Edge to download another browser. You can do all kinds of stuff. This guy gets it. Yeah. F2 postponed. What are your thoughts? Crypto governance is hard, and developing new consensus protocols is hard. Maybe people pay attention to it. They shit all over Cardano and say how bad we are and slow we are, and then when they try to do it themselves, it doesn't work. 7 years of work and it's still not there. Guys, this is hard stuff. I have the utmost admiration, respect, and appreciation for what Ethereum is going through. We said this again and 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 again. People didn't pay attention. And now they run into these things. And they're like, wow, crypto hard. Oh, this one, yeah, right here. Charles, kindly elaborate. Would you kindly? That's some Bioshock right there. At least 15 minutes. You ain't getting 15 minutes. Sorry, you got to pay for that. On the status of the paper wallet. Thank you, buddy. Okay, so for those of you who are in the news, a while back, I did talk about having a paper wallet generator built into the wallet. So we were originally going to do this in Daedalus, and then we decided that we would postpone that feature for the delivery train of Cardano, of the new Light Wallet program that we have out. So the basic idea is that you have something like like a security key, like a YubiKey or something like that. And what you would do is you construct a wallet, and this would have like a public-private key pair, or you have alternatively a weaker but still secure password. You generate a paper wallet, and it has two QR codes. Okay, a public code and a private code. Actually, fuck it. Let's just create a whiteboard for all y'all. How about that? Guys like you guys like a whiteboard? I like whiteboards. Actually, I'm going to make a blackboard. How about that? Let's see here. Format background, square black. Boom. Okay. Let's go here. We're going to share my screen. Get rid of the secret stuff. Boom. Yeah. Screen sharing. Okay. So basically, you asked for 15. You're going to get your 15 minutes. Paper wallet. Paper. Okay, so the basic idea is that you'll have a creation step. And what you'll do with creation is you'll either enter password, or you will use a public key. And that public key can be a PGP key. That public can be an elliptic curve. That can be an address. That can be a hardware device like a YubiKey that manages your shit for you. And then what'll happen is it'll generate 2 QR codes. So you'll have a public, and then you'll have a private. Okay. And then at the same time, it'll generate a proxy address. That proxy address will be managed by your hot wallet and allow you to delegate and vote, but does not control your spending keys. Your spending keys are controlled by your private key that's on the paper wallet. Now, that password or address that you entered, that will encrypt the data, the 24 keywords, the restore your thing, the seed in your private key. Okay. So when you print the PDF that's generated or back up, when you print that, the printer, if somebody does a replay attack on the printer, because the private section is encrypted, they don't gain information. If somebody steals your paper wallet from your safe that you've put it in, they don't get the information. Why? Because the private key is encrypted. It's pretty cool stuff. And actually, for the PDF backup, I actually really want to do a few different things, like, for example, animated QR. This is one of the reasons why I pushed it off a little bit, because I wanted to go a little crazy. And you say, what is animated QR? And I said, well, I'll show you guys. Hang on a second. So let me stop sharing real quick. And let me bring up a Google search and I'll show you a really cool animated QR code. Yes. Okay, let me find a really cool one. So that's looks like it's a horse. Horse is horse, of course. Now let's see if it animates that for me. Oh, actually, the Sonic the Hedgehog one is the coolest. Yeah, okay. So let me go ahead and share screen again. Do. Wow! And look what you can do. You can have an animated QR code. See how Sonic the Hedgehog is moving, or you have Maggie Simpson jumping around. So there are all kinds of really cool things you do, and they actually do not impact the data within the animated, because there's enough stuff in the standard to enable that. But my personal favorite is actually Pac-Man. Let me show you that. So this is an actual QR code. You can scan that shit. Look at that. You can play Pac-Man. So your digital backup of your paper wallet will be able to have an animation inside of it. We'll have a bunch of different animations. The paper one obviously won't, because unless you have some sort of weird ass smart paper. But it's super secure. Paired with proxy keys as a feature, you can still delegate and vote. And what we can do is, in the wallet creation process, allow someone to create a paper wallet backup. The other thing is, you can store the paper wallet PDF natively in your email without worrying about security, especially if you use a hardware-assisted recovery where you have a YubiKey or a PGP key or these types of things. And all you got to do is just upload a public key or plug in a hardware device, and it'll go ahead and take care of that for you. It might even be cool to see what we can do with Ledger and Trezor to assist in these things. But isn't that pretty cool, guys? It's the magic of cryptography. It's the magic of this industry. If you're going to do something, do it well and innovate and make it pretty and fun and beautiful. That's what you should do. And when we come out with a light wallet, one of the things I said is every 3 to 6 weeks, we're shipping something interesting. We're doing something. So there's a lot of backlog, like multi-sig and partial delegation and this type of stuff, and the voting center, and a good staking experience. And we need, DApp store, and okay, great. And they're amazing and magical. But every 3 to 6 weeks, do something, release something. And there you go. Whoa. This is one of those, like, the antecedent doesn't imply in any way a relation to the consequent. If Cardano is a blockchain, why doesn't NATO implement a no-fly zone over New Zealand? I don't know how those are connected. You're going to have to help me, Redox. You're going to have to help me, man. I'm really trying here. Obviously, Cardano won't ever be deflationary. It is. Our monetary supply is monotonically decreasing, and there's a fixed supply like Bitcoin. I think you need Bee Gees music to show it. Staying Alive, Saturday Night Fever. I really do like the Bee Gees. Kids today, they don't know. They don't know music. Kim Jong-un. I'm sorry to say you misspell. You're not quite right with your sentence. I know you're learning English. Cardano is the shit. You're almost there. Almost the shit. Okay. Next time. Been here for over 4 years and I've enjoyed the ride. What is the next significant evolution of Cardano after 2022? Something we may have never heard of yet. Oh, God, yeah. I got one really big special announcement that I've been saving for a very long time that I will do at the end of the year that I think everybody's going to be really fucking excited about. And it's almost ready for that. Then obviously we have the open source project. We have somehow merging Minotaur multi-resource consensus with the Omega agenda, quantum resistance, a whole bunch of things that we didn't get around to in the first 5 years. That would be a fuck ton of work, but really interesting to do in the next 5 years. So yeah, we got some top shelf shit. And I think all those guys who, again, Kim Jong, you got to put the in, the. You're missing that. I know you're trying. I know you are. But anyway, I know that you guys are going to be real excited about that. I love you, but don't do it in the nude. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Not going to do it. No. Thank you, Adam. This guy gets it. Yeah. See, not very hard. How's the status of Jed? Cody is working well on it. Probably second half of the year. Keep the great momentum going, Charles. Much love from Scotland. All right, Mark. I'm actually opening up a Scottish restaurant. It's going to be called Nessie's after the Loch Ness Monster. It's in a town nearby my ranch. I'm buying another restaurant and refurbishing it to do that. And you guys are all welcome for the grand opening whenever that happens. In the basement, it's going to have the world's best whiskey bar. And I'm going to get a plesiosaur skeleton and put it there and put tartans everywhere. Mark, it is going to be amazing. You're going to fucking love that shit. Yeah. Why am I doing that? Because the food diversity in that town is terrible. And I'm going to open up 3 more restaurants, a steakhouse called Proof of Steak, an Italian place called Girolamo's after Cardano, and an Asian restaurant called Ikigai. And I'm going to make sure that they have really, really good food. You seem to be in a good mood today, buddy. Well, of course I am. Life is good. You have some hard days. You have good days. It's a good day. Feel good. When is the Mastering Cardano book coming? 2023. Sorry, we couldn't get it out in 2022. Love it. Charles, you should do a stand-up show. Are you not entertained? How's Freya? Bigger than Denali. I'll take a video. You remember Freya holding her. It's a little tiny dog. Huge dog now. This guy gets it as well. See? In the words of the dude, I'll be there, man. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Well, I'll make the announcement at the time of grand opening, the grand opening of Nessie's. You guys are welcome to come. Proof of Stake. Yeah, you see, I thought you'd get it. We're going to do Wagyu. We're going to do bison, rattlesnake, alligator, ostrich, all the exotic meats. It's going to be great. And, steakhouses, they never get the dry aging right. They never get the sauces right. They never get the marinating right, the soaking. There's a lot of stuff you can do with steak. Make it real good. It's not even a question. All of the above. It's whiskey bar. You have to have a diversity, sir. He's almost there. Cardano is a shit. It's the, not indefinite, definite. You're almost there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hi, D-Reps. Are they like politicians? Yeah, kind of. And like diapers and politicians, they share one thing in common. You have to change them often. Cook a mean-ass cowboy ribeye. Naked. When you're fully fulfilled at Cardano, are you going to jump to polymath? No. No. You're going to kill your bison. Dude, I got 500 of them. Do you comprehend what happens when you allow a herd of 500 bisons to breed unconstrained? It's like those rabbit breeding models. You wake up with 5,000 bison. You have to do something to cull the herd a little bit. Good dry aged steak is orgasmic. It's definitely true. About 25 to 45 days dry age is the sweet spot. Somewhere in there. It's very, very good. You can even do butter dry age. You can do all kinds of marinades. The salts also have a lot to do with the taste of the steak. Any news about the video studio being built to create better quality content? We're working on it. When quant code release? Actually, we that's a good one. That's something that I mentioned a long time ago. We have Colin, who's our quant, and he's got a lot of cool stuff. And it would be nice to open source that. It's mostly Python code, and he uses what is it? Anaconda is his platform. So Jupyter, Anaconda, that whole thing. Hey, Charles, please tell us more about your visit in Poland. I got a whole video we're going to release on that. You're just going to have to wait. Ever tried fish sticks? South Park reference. Nice. Which salt do you recommend? Oh, you got the Hawaiian black salt. You got Celtic sea salt. You got the pink rose salt. You got all kind. I'd be like Bubba with all the salt and pepper. What are the political implications of cheese? I think somebody's high. Very, very, very high. So high. How is bison pie? Same as green eggs and ham. Okay. On Spaces, you began talking about a meeting in El Salvador, but you got rugged. Can you finish telling us what happened? Met with the president, Bukele. We went down there, had some fun, talked, and we referred them to a great company called Alpha Point, and they've been doing a lot of the work down there now. If we can't do it, we always refer to someone who can. Any upcoming philanthropy? Well, absolutely, actually. Actually working with the old alma mater and creating a professional master's degree in computational mathematics for CU Boulder. That's the latest and greatest. That'll be a few million in. But we're having a lot of fun with it. I love computational math. I really love automated theorem proving and formal mathematics. So that's where you use things like lean. And I really like computational math. And I'm kind of geeking out right now over mathematical art in that respect. But CU really needs a performance-based admission professional master's program. And I always love taking care of the old bison. Ralphie was actually a girl. Gender confused bison. What do you plan to do once you leave Cardano? You said you would when it becomes full self-sustainable. I mean, leave from a stewardship role, but I'm always going to be around. I'll always be with you guys, and our company always be writing code or doing things. The difference is that you guys are the ones waking up every day thinking about the future. There's self-determination there, and I'm just a follower like everyone else. I'll be up on my ranch doing ranch stuff. Will we have a Cardano Miami? No. We're going to have a Cardano Cheyenne. Wyoming is where it's at, guys. Wyoming, not Florida. I love the mayor. Suarez is phenomenal. He's a great guy, but Wyoming is where it's at. Why is Bill Gates introducing genetically modified mosquitoes everywhere around the world while he's also vaccinating everybody and building nuclear power plants? Because he's Bill Gates. He does a lot of shit. He's bored with $100 billion. And it's probably part of this whole weird New World Order thing. I don't know. I need a ranch job. Please help. We'll find a rancher. Hey, Charles, yo, legend. Have you discovered permaculture? Yeah. What about it? You got to give me a little bit more than that. Charles, do you have any favorite soccer player or team? No. Outside of the Jinja Hippos. Pele is pretty cool. Will any of your upcoming philanthropies include AI or machine learning? I got a project for that, and we'll do that one in Africa. We're going to try to do it in Kenya next year. Charles, opinions on the Rust programming language. Is it suitable for cryptocurrencies? Yes, there's even a Cardano Rust. It's a great language. Polkadot is implemented in Rust. There's a lot of cryptocurrency projects using Rust now. I think ICP uses Rust, and there's a lot of vendors that use Rust programming, like Ferris Labs, for example. Came from Mozilla, and it's basically like a C replacement, kind of like Go was intended to be. It's known for being incredibly portable, works in the browser, very fast, memory safe. You can use a functional style for a lot of stuff. It's a perfectly legitimate language. When we were scoping out Cardano in 2015, it wasn't where it needed to be. But as of 2022, it's a phenomenal one. Hey, Charles, give me a shout out. Sure, Taz, you got your shout out. Congratulations. Any product recommendations for hair loss? Yeah, it's called baseball cap. Charles, is Cosmos good tech? Yeah. I think they wrote it in Go. Tendermint is decent BFT-based protocol. IBC is decent. 200 blockchains in the portfolio. They've made some good progress. And he news on the partnership with the Dish Network. Every day they're chipping away. Meetings once a week. You look skinnier. Well, that's the incoming death. Feeling fine. What's your favorite coin? ADA. How do you read all this? It's so fast. That's what she said. Charles, opinions on proof of useful work and what it could bring. When we publish the paper, I will have very strong opinions on WalkSat. Thoughts on IPFS? It's interplanetary. Content addressable network. Go to Cigar, Arturo Fluente Hemingway. Cheap, good, short. Do you own any Bitcoin or Ethereum? Never had any Ether. Do have Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's fine. Good store of value. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Who let the dogs out? Wolf, wolf, wolf. And you have a monkey. What type of monkey? Is it a big monkey? A small monkey? Happy monkey? Sad monkey? Big monkey? Little monkey? Fat monkey? Skinny monkey? Got to give me more about the monkey. Charles from Argentina. We had a 6.7% inflation in March, not annual, 6.7% in a month. Why crypto? That reason for crypto. People are getting it now. Would you ever consider teaming up with Vitalik again? I have no reservations or problems. I don't think he thinks very highly of me. No one in the Ethereum space thinks very highly of me. They've invented this like crazed monster, and they just are perplexed that somehow I have staying power. It's like the Beatles. They break up, McCartney goes his way and Lennon goes the other way. And yeah, it'd be cool if they got back together, but it never happened. And it is what it is. I don't even think Roger Waters got back together for the old Pink Floyd reunion song. It's sad, but people develop opinions. Didn't know the kid that long. Dishonest Charles. Oh. What about the skinny monkey? You got to give me more than that. When will you come to Oman? Probably when I go to Bahrain. I travel around the Middle East from time to time. I was just in Dubai. I'll be back in a bit. Are you neighbors with Charlie Ergen? No. He lives somewhere down south, and I got a farm up here, and then I got a ranch in Wyoming. Charlie's a good guy, though. I like him. I've got some good kids, too. Chase and Chris. Charles, talk us through what to expect before, during, and after hard fork. Okay, you ready? It's very, very complicated, right? You got the pre-Vassal era. Okay, it's going. Then the HSC event gets triggered. Okay, it keeps going. It's going. And then the epic rollover happens, and you're in the Vassal era now, and it's going. You know what you need to do? Not a whole lot. It's called the Hard Fork Combinator. Read it. Look it up. It's amazing, and it's yet another one of the hundreds of innovations that we've created for Cardano. And those innovations mean that you don't have to worry because we do. Have you heard of Pegasus 2? It's scary stuff. Wrath of Pegasus. Probably. Charles, so I appreciate that Cardano supports composability through isomorphic state channels, but with Hydra, will there be crosshead or cross shard atomic composability? Yes. It's the next paper. We're working on it. Head-to-head communication is a hard thing. Are you not friends with Gavin Wood? Yeah, I don't have anything against Gavin. He's a decent guy. Run into him from time to time. Certainly said some interesting things to all those people that write books about me. Why do you guys care who I like and who I don't like and who I get along with? Has it in any way impacted Cardano? No. What's the range of a Black Hawk? About 300 miles. Burns 1,000 gallons of JPL8 an hour. How about that? Charles, any good books you'd recommend? Callum Everybody Poops. It's the most honest book I've ever read. None of the targets you gave. What? Come on, man. Come on. You got to go. You got to go. You got to give me more. You're almost there. Kim Jong-un, he learned how to say the. You're there. Favorite type of exotic animal milk? Horse milk. Go easy on the fasting, Charles. You're clever. Keto brain does everything for you. See all the energy? Are you coming to CNFT Con in Vegas this October? Well, we're sure as hell sending less there. I'll tell you that. Borsai is going to be all over that shit. Great. Going to be a great time for the community. We shall see. 2-hour stream. Look at you go, Charles. I can go 5 hours, yo. Sup? Hi, Charles. Thanks for making time for AMAs. Since you're intellectually curious, I want to know if you ventured into astrology. So I occasionally do get those questions from time to time. White magic, dark magic, astrology, the left-hand path, all the Wiccan stuff, tarot cards. You kind of bundle all these things together, right? And human beings' capacity and capabilities to see the world in different ways and explore the unknown through the metaphysical or mystical. And I certainly have a lot of books on it and a lot of friends who send me things, and it is fun from time to time. And actually, up at my ranch, I've seen some weird shit, really weird shit, because the ranch happens to be the battle site of some conflicts between the American cavalry and the Native Americans. So some terrible things happen there. So you never know, you know. And when I was growing up, when I was a boy, rural Kentucky, when I was growing up, I had George Norrie and Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM. Around midnight, you'd listen to that show, and they'd have all the crazy guest stars on, talking about everything from paranormal to aliens. And there's definitely more than meets the eye in these things. Now, as for astrology, this idea that just where, when, and how you were born somehow has some impact on your destiny. Some people really believe that. Do you think Cardano will become bigger than Ethereum? In many ways, it already is. In many ways. Tell us more of what you've seen on your ranch. I will one day. And then you'll have the rest of the story. Isn't Alex Jones the best guest ever? In any capacity, when you get him drunk, yes. The goddamn gay frogs. Ah. The DMT aliens, the gay frogs. It's just like, who is this guy? This is so crazy. It's just out there, man. Paul Harvey, you got it. You got it, sir. I love Paul Harvey. And this guy gets it too. Charles, how many people you have in your office? It looks lonely. This is actually a soundstage. Okay. We have a huge production we put in. This is not a real background. It's just a green screen. See, very green screeny. We have about 92 people who work every day to put this together just for you guys. I'm actually in a bunker right now. Cardano burn? Oh, hate chip epidemic is still going strong. When will that end? It's really sad that they allowed that in paint. Cardano is the fight club of the VC space, by the way. First rule of Cardano is don't talk about Cardano. All right. Come on, guys. Give me one last question. We're going to clip it at 2 hours. Give me one. You know you want it. Come on now. Thoughts on those clowns over at Bankless? That's a good way to end it, huh? So just to show you the arrogance of some of the people in our industry, you have these guys that for years have been saying Cardano is a scam. We've contributed nothing. We're a walking joke. Then out of the blue, they say, hey, you should come on the show. And then their community goes, oh, Charles will never come on the show. He's a coward. He doesn't want hard questions. You guys are here. I do the MAs every week. You ask me whatever the hell you want. I'll answer any question. I am not afraid of difficult interviews and hard questions. But could we at least get some dignity and respect? And then one of the founders of the podcast says, well, I'm not responsible for any of that. Show me a link or a proof of somebody on our organization saying negative things about you. And the community dogpiles onto the tweet and says, hey, here's like 26 things that you've done. Any apology? Guys, you can say it's slow. You can say it's not commercially comparable. You can say that we're crazy with the roadmap. You could say that we don't know how to build cryptocurrency. You can say our community is weird and wonky. But when you cross a threshold and say it's a scam, it's a criminal enterprise, you go to that level, you've crossed opinion and you've gone into libel, slander. You're accusing people of malicious intent. It's one thing to say somebody doesn't know what they're doing and they're incompetent. It's another thing a person is purposely going out of their way to defraud and deceive. And they're all cut from that cloth, these people. And to what end? So that a bunch of idiot seals can go, yeah. That's what they do. What have they contributed? What have they built? What risks have they taken? The great soliloquy of the critic as they stand out there. What have they accomplished in their life? What arrows have they taken from being right and wrong and being in the goddamn arena? None. Zero. Zilch. The best they can hope for is to attract somebody who has done something onto their show and have a little bit of a debate so that they can get some viewers and some more seals honking at the fish being thrown at them. And at some point, we as an ecosystem will eclipse all of that, and we're so far beyond them already. I'm sorry. You can believe that in the end, Cardano will be an interesting historical footnote and will not have achieved the goals of the project. But you cannot, at this juncture, debate that Cardano deserves to be in the books of history. What we have done as an ecosystem in 6 years, what we've achieved, what we've built, is there forever because of you, the community, the millions of people within it. And you have these barking idiot seals, mostly on the Ethereum side, but they're all throughout the space, who have the audacity to go and piss all over it and say it's nothing, it's a criminal enterprise, and it's the darkest thing ever. And that's sad, because those who follow them, they miss the point, the principles, the values, the knowledge that's been accumulated here. Like it or not, the papers we write are cited. Like it or not, the values we have are important and are part of the global conversation of cryptocurrencies. And for some reason, people just don't want to talk about that. And hard fork by hard fork, upgrade by upgrade, we just get stronger and bigger and definitely achieve more and more. And every step of the way, the critics are proven wrong, and yet people still seem to listen to them. At some point, you just have to turn the page and say, that is them. That's their little part of the show. And you move on. There's an old saying. I say it again and again and again to remind you and me. The dog barks, but the caravan moves on. Until next time, my friends, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. High energy day. That's what fasting does for you. Cheers. Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson, broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is April 13th, 2022. It's a lovely day. Back in the office, having some fun. It's a Wednesday, around 2:47 p.m. Colorado time. Everybody ready to go? Everybody excited about the AMA? Well, we've had a hell of a week. Got Logan on the mic. It's my lobster. You guys remember him? You named him. Things are going well. Yeah, they're moving along. It's brisk pace. There's so many crazy things. Everything from glow-in-the-dark plants to mammoths. In fact, Colossal visited me this weekend. Let me show you something. They were so kind to offer me this lovely gift. Let's see if you guys can guess what it is. Do you have any idea? Huh? It is a mammoth tooth. How about that? It's a molar. So they came up to Wyoming. We had a lovely time exploring the state and had dinner with the governor, and we're hopefully able to get them to do something there. But it's a broad ecosystem, and it's a very diverse one. Everything from ESG stuff dealing with environmentalism to visiting the border with Poland and Ukraine, and actually seeing the refugee centers and meeting people at the border, to the work in Africa, to just deep technology. Got our benchmarks today for pipelining, which is on schedule for the June release. Looks amazing. Some blog posts there. A lot of really cool stuff also coming out with Plutus. We have a video coming out here with John Woods. Just watched the raw footage of it, and they're editing it for release here in the next week or two. And it's really cool. It talks about SIP 31, 32, and 33, the architecture of Plutus, the extended UTXO model, and why it's interesting. Everything from contract to redeemer to datum to your context in the model. It's really cool stuff. So I think you guys are going to like that a lot. Things are getting predictable in a certain respect with our release schedule, with how we handle things, the events we're going to, and it's just like business as usual. And that's a good thing. Because it means that there's no more superhuman extraordinary effort required to get this heroic release out. And can we make the schedule or can we not make the schedule? It's more just like clockwork, where we say, okay, here's our storyboard, our points, and we know this, and we're using Agile, and things are just moving along. And that's just so much more relaxing It allows us to work on a more diverse and interesting set of problems instead of just one or two. And June's going to be a really big month for us. We get to showcase a lot of new things. A lot of dApps on Cardano are kind of waiting for that hard fork to launch because they get a lot of optimizations with it. They'll have a better user experience. The Light Wallet we're working on is coming along. We're having a lot of fun with that Light Wallet. And we'll have a voting center in it, partial delegation, multi-sig, proxy keys, all kinds of things that you guys really have come to know and love and respect and appreciate. So happiness there. There are a few more things like input endorsers, Babel fees, the sidechain stuff that's coming at the end of the year, October and beyond. And those things are going to really double down and add to what makes Cardano so incredibly special. You know, it's a hard thing to invent an entirely new field of science. If you think about these weird distributed systems that don't have centralized authority, they have to have resistance against all of these Byzantine actors that can come from anywhere in the world. And the very same set of people who maintain the system are potentially the set of people who are trying to attack the system. It's a weird new field of science. And there's only about 13 years of history behind it. And we've made such meaningful and significant contributions. And we built great foundations for all of these things. And to see those foundations come to life and become vibrant and start flowering and producing downstream effects is so cool. And seeing all the interconnectivity of it, like Mithril is interconnected with the sidechain strategy, is interconnected with the Hydra strategy, is interconnected with Ouroboros and all the magic of Ouroboros, and the heterogeneity that Ouroboros provides is interconnected to all these things. Wow. You know, years ago we were talking about it on blackboards, and we said, if only we could do this and this and this. And this is the year where we actually get to play around with it and see it, and also to see what the community is doing with Cardano. Wing Riders just came out. I tweeted that. This one was special because they added so much, you know, staking while doing TVL, stablecoin support, a lot of really cool off-chain design patterns. It's an example of a very refined DEX, much more so than a lot on market right now. And the other ones will copy and emulate and learn. And so there's a rapid evolution that's occurring. So I suspect that everybody's going to say, hey, we should catch up. But the fact that these things are evolving so quickly is just a testimony to the quality of this community and the quality of the technology. And this is pre-Vassal. When Vassal comes out in June, you're just going to see a whole new wave of things like stable coins and other things, algorithmic stable coins like JED and so forth that are kind of waiting for it. So real excited about that. A lot more work on the pedagogy. We're working real hard to improve the Plutus Pioneers program, the Marlowe Pioneers program. This is the first month where Marlowe is running on Cardano in a test sense. 4 years of work there for financial DSL. Now it's coming to fruition. It's live. It's beautiful. And by the end of the year, it should be in a great state. Hydra, every 3 weeks, they just keep adding to it. They just keep building up. It's a beautiful thing as well. Really happy about it. And to me, it's just a validation of a dream we had. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's talk about your questions. That's the fun thing about these AMAs. It's just not me on a monologue. It's you guys. What's up, Charles? Good to see you again, man. Thank you, D. Good to see you as well. The neck bone's connected to the ball bone. Let's see here. You should hang out with Paul Stamets. Yeah, actually, I think I have a meeting coming up with David Broner, from that soap company, and it's along the same lines as some of the work that Stamets does. But I like Paul. He's pretty cool. My gourmet mushroom farm should be operational here in just a little bit. I'll take lots of pictures for you guys. We're working real closely with Farmbox Foods. Where is your Snowpunk statue? It's at home. This is the office. DEX functionality for Daedalus. Yes, please. Daedalus is a reference wallet, so no. But it would be really cool. Put it in the IO Light wallet, which is a commercial wallet, different wallet. Hey, Charles, what's your take on modern monetary theory? Inflation is okay and under control narrative, which is being pushed. I got into a big debate at the opening of the Barbados embassy, the after party, with one of the central bank guys floating around from Barbados. Real smarmy dude, works for their government. Just an asshole. And he's just sitting there rattling on about how printing money doesn't cause inflation. This neighborhood that I'm in, where my office is at, the homes in this area, they've doubled in price in the last 3 years. Doubled. Every single thing at the supermarket has gone up in price, at least 20%, 30%. Look at the price of fuel. And you got all these MMT guys. Oh, it's Russia. So let me get this straight. Russia has that much say on the energy market here in the United States, where we're the world's largest energy producer. Really? Russia has that much influence over our economy? One little crisis in Ukraine, some embargoes we put in, some sanctions we put in, causes 20% inflation. You're really going to say that? Meanwhile, you double the money. You print money out of nowhere and you inject it into the economy, massive sums of money. Where does that money go? It goes into the wealthy, and they set up REITs and all these other things like BlackRock does, and they go around, they buy a bunch of homes. So the poor people, the middle class people, they're now competing with investment banks and hedge funds and investment funds. Funds raise the prices, price of rent goes up. Lot rent for trailers is $1,000 a month. Lot rent. Trailers, $1,000 a month. They own the trailer. They own the modular home. Lot rent's that high. A lot of you have that story, and that's just here, Colorado. I imagine California, New York, and other places are even worse. When you print massive sums of money and inject that money into the economy, the rich people do very well. Why? Because we get to use the money first. We get access to all those Reg D top shelf shit. I can put money into the Millennium Fund. You guys can't. I can put money into some of the top hedge funds. You guys can't, because I'm an ultra high net worth guy. So when they print money, boy, do I do good. But you guys get fucked. Absolutely fucked. MMT is part of a larger academic agenda to rob you of your. Okay. And anybody who tells you otherwise, they're either an undergrad who's fallen in love with an insane economic philosophy and they think they're geniuses, or they're a bought and sold economist that's not being intellectually honest. You cannot take a scarce resource and remove scarcity and then expect that it holds the same value through some sort of kabuki and velocity of money and all this other bullshit. You just can't do it. It's not possible. Guys, if you're starving and I have a loaf of bread, how much would you pay for it? If I give you another loaf of bread, would you still want it? If I give you another loaf of bread, would you still want it? At the 47th loaf of bread, do you feel, how much would you pay for that? It's common sense. Money only has value because it has some notion of scarcity and controls behind it. There's a belief that you believe other people, a Schelling point, will treat money in a certain way. If you believe money is losing its value, prices go up. It's that simple. It's a common Austrian notion. And then these MMT people come around, they say, oh, everything's under control. It's all fine. Well, then ask them back. If MMT actually works, if this is a thing, why do we pay taxes? Why can't every year we just print $3 trillion every year? Why can't we do that? If it doesn't cause inflation, why do you pay taxes? Why don't we go print $10 trillion, go build all the infrastructure of America? Free college for everybody. Why do you work if MMT really works? Why do you have to? We can just print money and give you money. You can just go and spend it, right? Great for the economy. These people. I get so angry about it because I see how it destroys people's lives. You know how many homeless people are running around now, and the price of rent, the price of food, it's devastating. Wages don't go up like that. They really don't. So every year, the poor and the middle class get poorer and poorer and poorer, and they live less of a lifestyle. Look at The Simpsons. The show started, I think, in 1987. Homer Simpson and Marge, with their 3 kids, live in a 3-bedroom home. He's not a college graduate, barely a high school graduate, and he's the breadwinner. Wife doesn't work. And that was America in 1987. That wasn't fantasy back then. That was the average American lifestyle. Now you have 2 parents, both college graduates, badly in debt, barely can afford a single child, and they're renting because they can't buy a house. Don't fucking tell me that things are working well. Homomorphic encryption projects in healthcare and biotech, perhaps. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things we're looking at there. And there's privacy preserving encryption, oblivious RAM, homomorphic encryption. There's some NPC shit you can do. So for those of you who don't know, homomorphic encryption is part of a collection of techniques that people are studying and looking into that enable you to operate on encrypted data without decrypting it. And those operations are preserved. And you say, but why should we care about that? What's the point of that? Well, let's say you want to do a Google search and you don't want Google to know what you're searching for. Or let's say you have a bunch of medical records and you want to mine those medical records for a particular query, like how many people above 50 with asthma who are Jewish and women who smoked in their 20s got COVID, and what was the outcome compared to the general population? Standard epidemiological question that somebody somewhere is going to ask for some paper. How do you solve that problem right now? You have a data room. Somebody sees the non-anonymized data. They do a bunch of magic, and then they give you the answer. However, the person in the room can see the private medical data and see that Aunt Beth has herpes and Aunt Sue has a drinking problem and Aunt Jane, she tried to commit suicide at 22 because it's in the medical record. That's a problem. Homomorphic encryption allows you to, without a data room, without a special